It's Black Teacher Matters, y'all. And I am your host, Abdel Shakur. This is the podcast where we talk about what matters to black teachers. The poet and black revolutionary Assata Shakur once wrote, "I have been locked by the lawless, handcuffed by the haters, gagged by the greedy, and if I know anything at all, it's that a wall is just a wall and nothing more at all. It can be broken down. I believe in living, I believe in birth, I believe in the sweat of love and in the fire of truth. And I believe that a lost ship, steered by tired, seasick sailors, can still be guided home to port." Assata Shakur died in Cuba last week, and her passing felt like losing a distant family member. My parents gave me her last name, and she's always stood at the edge of my consciousness. Someone who was righteous, brilliant, beautiful, and committed. I keep turning around that line about walls in my mind because we are living in a time of walls. Living walls, as a matter of fact. People being turned into walls. Walls that divide, walls that brutalize, walls that imprison, walls that kill. Whether it's ICE preying on black and brown bodies in our cities, Palestinian genocide with American aid, or autocracy and silence spreading its roots through our society, these walls are made of people. The actions of people are its foundations. And as a teacher in a school for children, I need to be conscious of my own walls, the ways I'm using power to create walls that allow injustice to flourish. Last episode, Dr. Misha Mosley talked about this moment requiring not just a study of liberatory theory, but a moment to be brave. Brave enough to put theory into praxis, into action, to look back at the way people acted in moments just like these, and then get about the work of breaking down the walls. With our voices, with our pens, with our shoulders, with our fists, with our heads, with the sweat of love and the fire of truth. With our lesson plans, with our classroom routines, with our assessments, with the ways that we share power with our students. This is the moment to go further. This is not the moment to pull back. Rest in peace and power, Assata Shakur. Now about our next guest. Back in 1992, the PBS series Frontline brought cameras to my school to film a documentary called Berkeley High School Colors, which examined the interplay of race, segregation, and education in a large liberal public school like my own. It's posted on YouTube. It's fascinating. It's funny to see the kids that are grown now, what they were wearing, but also just to see what people were talking about. What was the discourse at that time? You'll see some of my friends, but you will not see Abdel Shakur because I was not trying to be on a documentary in 1992 as a freshman. But you will see a man named Hodari Davis. And Hodari Davis at the time was a young man, a teacher, engaging, provocative, thoughtful, just kind of an amazing educator. And I remember him very clearly from that time. And he was one of the people, when I thought about my own past, that I kind of wanted people to know more about. So he was a teacher in the Black Studies department, and yes, my school had a Black Studies department with its own section, and that's because of efforts of people like Dr. Richard Navies, who helped start the department. Anyways, this interview is going to be in two parts. The first part is kind of Mr. Davis talking about his background, talking about this documentary and his experience in it, and how it kind of flipped his whole life around. And then also just the people that held him down. One of our big takeaways here is like, how many people does it take to hold down a black teacher, to hold up a black teacher? So I hope you enjoy. Hodari Davis is the Chief Innovation Officer and a partner at Edutainment for Equity. He is the former National Program Director of Youth Speaks and Executive Producer of the Brave New Voices International Youth Poetry Slam Festival. He's the founder and executive producer of the Life is Living Festival. He's also founding member and emeritus artistic director of the award-winning youth repertory group Young, Gifted, and Black. He's an Afrofuturist working as a foresight essential Essentials faculty member at the Institute for the Future. And I'll just say, as I was looking through your bio, the word founder just keeps coming up again and again, which is just very interesting. Back when I took Mr. Davis's class in 1995, if you asked me for a word that described him, I would have said fierce. Not in your face, yelling. He stood behind the podium like a young lion, and he was young. He commanded the class with ease. He knew himself. He knew his purpose. And Lord, he knew his content, which I appreciate even more as I get older. Like, that brother knew what he was talking about. He was funny. He was theatrical. He was cool. He was intelligent. And he was engaged in an intellectual battle that he wanted us to be engaged in as well. And all these years later, he's still engaged. What better moment to talk to a happy warrior like Mr. Davis than now? So thank you for joining us, Mr. Davis.
Thank you for having me, brother. I'm glad to be here. Honored to be here.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I'll just say, one of the first questions I usually ask is just like thinking about your ideal class. It could be back then or it could be now. What do you feel like you want to be happening in your class? Like, what kind of things do you want to be happening in your class?
Wow. I think that thinking back 30 years ago, because that's a different person in the sense of time. The me that is now is not the me then. So the me then, I've got locked down to here, like a beard, I was really young. None of the students really knew how young I was. So at the time when I got to Berkeley High, I was 22 years old. Like I said, that classroom was a laboratory for me. I actually didn't think of it as a political thing at all until Berkeley School Colors came. And then I realized how political it was.
Tonight on Frontline, go back to high school in school colors.
It was, but before that, I was just like, whatever. Even when they were like, we have cameras in your class, I was like, cool, put cameras in. Everybody's doing it. I didn't know everybody wasn't doing it, but I was like, okay, cool, no problem. They were in my class all the time with cameras. I'm like, cool, film me.
The department offers an Afrocentric curriculum and 15 courses in subjects ranging from Black economics to Swahili. 85% of the students in these classes are African American.
All right. The battle in the Black community between separation and integration started out at the end of slavery as a battle between repatriation and Americanization. The idea that Black people should go back to Africa, the idea that Black people should stay and become a part of America. Integration in America is white supremacy.
Hodari Davis was hired 2 years ago and is one of 6 teachers in the department.
Integration in America means that one group of people...
In the majority of high schools in the country, the curriculum doesn't reflect the students. Therefore, many of the students who do not see themselves in the material end up getting kicked out of school because they don't attend class. They skip class because they're not interested. They get F's on their tests because they're not interested. It's not that they can't study. It's that they look at the material and they're like, why do I want to study that? Why do I want to know that? It's not relevant to me understanding myself.
But my ideal classroom, the feeling of my ideal classroom, I wanted every student to feel intellectually engaged, regardless of where they were from a standpoint of literacy or of their reading skills or their math. I wanted everyone to feel engaged at their level. I wanted everyone to leave there with a knowledge of Black history that wasn't in the notebook, that wasn't the notes that they were taking, but was actually embodied, like in their bodies. It was important to me that people had vocabulary. It's still important to me that people know what they're talking about. And when somebody asks a question like, what is racism? Any one of those students could give a definition. And that's what I needed. I needed students to be armed. I wanted them to be armed. And I felt like in whatever class I was in, whether it was a history class, a government class, economics, or an African-American studies, ethnic studies, I wanted them to feel like coming to my class helped them put their armor on so that when they left and they were in the other hostile environments that were that school, that they had some protection in their intellect. They felt some pride in themselves, some confidence about advocating for themselves, advocating for each other. Yeah, I think I was making activists without consciously making activists. That would be my answer. I wanted everybody to come out and be active, not be passive.
Now we can stay with inferiority if y'all want to stay with inferiority.
Just for a little while.
Or we could go to something else.
Let's go to something else.
I just want to go back to what Ty said about black people not being able to function if they don't speak proper English, if they speak a black dialect.
Black children aren't being taught in grade school. That's my point. What proper grammar is, and they need that, but they aren't being taught that. So, a simple sentence like, "We are going to the park." But instead, they're never taught. No, isn't that, wouldn't that be considered proper grammar? But instead, they'd say, "We is going to the park today." I mean, that's not proper grammar.
You sitting there rolling around, you know all this proper language, and you walk around, well, we're about to go to the park, and somebody say, yo, kid, we about to go shoot some ball, let's go do some hoops. You be like, huh?
When you want to get ahead in a society, you need every asset and every tool available. And English, not speaking proper or standard grammar is not an asset.
Elijah Muhammad, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Huey Newton, they didn't speak what you want to call functioning grammar. they function in this world. You ain't gotta speak the cracker language to live in the cracker world.
Language and grammar and reading goes hand in hand. You can't separate the two. And all of the people that you just mentioned, every time I've heard them speak, they never came to the podium, "I is going to talk today to you about this."
I think black people don't need white people. We have to learn to start accepting ourselves for ourselves, our features, our culture, our language, the way we look for ourselves, and not to look towards other people to define ourselves for ourselves.
Yeah, that word battle. I feel like that was your that might have been your favorite word in that class. We're battling, we're gonna battle today.
We're gonna battle, yeah. I mean, but Berkeley High and Berkeley in general was just a very dangerous place for black children. And if they didn't have the sanctuaries that we created, I feel like it would have been like every other high school, really. Like what made Berkeley High School special was that there were sanctuaries. I mean, for the black children in particular, there were sanctuaries for black life. There were sanctuaries for black celebration. There was a space where you could go and get re-upped. If you were broken down by what you heard over here, you could come here and be built up. Yeah. A lot of that experience at Berkeley High, particularly the time I spent in the African American Studies department, was really about that. It was about arming the black students with the knowledge of themselves. I think we used to say that all the time. We're gonna arm you with the knowledge of yourself. Yeah. Yeah, it was beautiful. It's a beautiful time. Yeah, absolutely.
I think that integration was the second worst thing that ever happened to black men next to slavery. Because when we were segregated, we had our communities, we had our stores. Integration was never good. It drained black people of all their money, and their pride.
I try to have people who are self-thinkers and who are confident to express their own ideas and their own concepts without feeling as if they're constantly under the gun, so to speak, or they're constantly in threat of having to shut up because what they're saying is considered to be quote-unquote wrong.
It's not even in your reality. Because if you deal with it here, then you're going to get in trouble. And I don't want to see you get in trouble.
We fill a role of parent, of brother, of teacher. For many of them, we're some of the most positive influences that they have in their lives.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was as political as it was until that film came out, and I lost all my classes, and they were trying to drive me out of the school because they didn't like what I said on TV. Then I was like, oh, maybe I've been going too hard. Am I going too hard? Is it wrong to show Farrakhan? I just started asking these kind of questions. I had to work my way back in, bro. That's where black psychology came from. I had to work my way back in because I was removed from the department after that film came out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, first, yeah. It was almost the exile. It was a quiet exile. I spent that year pushing a shopping cart. I had 3 classrooms. So my shopping cart was my office. And I would have to push to each classroom this shopping cart of whatever, the books, the materials.
Wait, you're saying you literally had a shopping cart?
I literally had a shopping cart, yeah. I used to cart from across the C building and cart all the way to the H building and cart back C. And I didn't have no Black Studies classes at all. None. They took me out.
You were just teaching black psychology.
I wasn't even at that
time. What were you teaching?
Okay, look. So Berkeley High was unique because they had self-scheduling. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
It was like the only school that I've ever heard of, but the students picked their class.
Students.
I had the chance to be there when it was happening.
Okay.
This was before black psychology.
Yeah.
I didn't understand it, so I had a chance to be there and watch it. And I was like, oh, students are picking teachers. They're not really picking classes.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I had a class that was hot, I bet the students would pick me. So the history department offered psychology. It was the department chair, I can't remember his name, Doug or Ben, or he taught the class. And he would have it was psychology. So he would have like five sections of psychology. And that would be his whole day. And it would be like AP psychology. So he would basically see all white kids with like a sprinkling of black kids might be interested in psychology. So I was like, okay, I looked at Berkeley's self-scheduling. The way that Berkeley got credit for classes was through UC Berkeley. Like if there was a course that was offered at UC Berkeley, you could get 4 units, 3 units, etc. for your class at Berkeley High. So at UC Berkeley, they had black psychology. So I was like, cool, I'm going to offer black psychology. I'm already tight with Wade Nobles and Oba Tashaka. I was already familiar with that material. So I was like, okay, I'm going to offer black psychology. So I wrote the whole curriculum up and sent it to UC Berkeley. And UC Berkeley approved it. Wow. And then I came back and I said, here's my class. And I was not in Black Studies. And I went to Mr. McKnight. This is after I had been exiled. And I said, yo, I got this class, Black Psychology. And he was like, that's not in the Black Studies department. I said, it should be. I said, I bet it will be by the time this self-scheduling section ends. And then I got 3 sections of black psychology from self-scheduling. The students picked it over psychology. So then the history department comes to me. How are you going to be offering a psychology class? You're taking our students. And I was like, no, I'm not taking your students. I'm just offering a class. And they were like, we can't have psychology and black psychology in here. And Mr. McKnight saw that I had 3 new sections ready to go. He was like, yep, you're back in Black Studies. Boom. That's how I got back in. I got back in. That class was so popular, it got me my position back in the Black Studies department. Otherwise, I would have just been a history teacher because I was teaching American government and economics and U.S. history. That's what I was hired to do at Berkeley High.
Well, that's a heck of a combination of chess moves.
Yeah,
and only possible because you had that scholarly connection to black teachers on the college level that could kind of come in because now that you're saying that, it's kind of like this is before AP became like
before it even blew. Yeah.
This is well still underground.
I wanted to call it AP Black Psychology, and they were like, "No, you can't do that."
It wasn't that underground yet, but at that point, a lot of the Riz from Berkeley High was their connection to UC Berkeley. It was a direct thing. So with that being such a way that they get their educational reputation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then you hook into that On
and
the
I was
back
able to
end.
bypass. I was able to bypass the local politic and then present it. And then the students selected the class, and then it was a negotiation. And I wasn't even in the room when they negotiated it, but they had to negotiate because he was like, I'm going to take these 3 sections, which means I'm going to take all these students. And then the history department was like, no, you're not. So they had a negotiation, and they decided to only do 2 Black psychology classes, 3 psychology classes in history, but they had to give me. So like I negotiated my way in. That was like me negotiating my way in. Otherwise, I would have been out of that school, because after Berkeley School Colors, they didn't really want me there. The adults,
right?
The adults. It was a lot of hate, and I was depicted in a certain way. In the way that I was depicted in the film, Mr. McKnight felt like it was politically bad for the department. And I was a lot of pressure, bro. It was a lot of pressure. Like, I didn't even know I was in the film until the film came out. So it was a lot of pressure, bro. It was like people calling me like, you're going to be on the news tonight. And then Berkeley High calling me saying, you are not allowed to talk to the media. And then the media calling like, we want to interview you. It was a lot. For a 24-year-old who just started teaching, it was a lot. Like, yeah, it was a lot. You know, my grandmother saw that. My grandmother has since passed, but she saw that film. She saw Berkeley School Colors. And when I was in this state of like, what am I going to do? They just took all my stuff from me. They're about to take my job. What am I going to do? She called me. She said, baby, I saw you on TV. She said, I was so proud of you. And I was like, what? She was like, I was so proud of you. I love everything you said and everything you're doing. And when she said that, it was like nobody could touch me, man. It was like, I don't know. It was just something in her voice. When she said that, yeah, I just felt powerful. You know, your grandmother calls you and tells you that?
Yeah.
Yo, I just felt like no matter what anybody else says, I can take it. Like, I can take whatever anybody else said, whatever critiques they have, however I'm getting called out, I could take it because my grandmother is proud of me. So whatever. Like, I was really willing to go through all of that. That's what got me pushing the cart. That's what made me come up with the idea of getting back in. That's how I got back in, because my grandmother told me that, you know, she believed in me. That's like a backstory to a backstory, bro.
Yeah. Well, I mean, isn't that emblematic of like, just how many people have to hold up a Black teacher? You know what I mean? Like, generationally in a school community, because not only are you, the students are gravitating toward what you're doing, right? You got your university connection that's actually helping you get some access and positionality that you wouldn't have normally, right? You got your family that's got your back. You got people in the community that are having your back.
Yo, Mr. Hood left Berkeley High for me.
What do you mean?
During that time, they were working a way to get me out. And I had been going to school. We had been going, both of us were going to school. We were like about to get our credential. And they called us into the office. They said, we only have a position for one of you.
What? Wait, they called both of y'all in? What?
We only have a position for one of you.
What does that mean?
That means one of us got to go, bro.
Y'all supposed to fight it out.
One of us got to go. We were best, I'm telling you, best friends.
Yeah.
Like, tight, thick thieves. Godfather of my child. Yeah, man. Like, they put it on us in that meeting. And Hood was like, he should stay. He should stay. He's a better teacher than me. And I was like, what? He was like, yeah, man. You should be here for sure. And I was like, it was crazy. So just for you to say, hold up a Black teacher, like, yeah, that was probably 95. That was probably like 95 or 94, right before all of this stuff happened, right when the Berkeley School Colors thing happened. Hood was in the film a little bit. I was in the film a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure. They were getting pressure outside, just like they're getting pressure now. The pressure of Berkeley High now, they're getting a lot of pressure now. The superintendent had to go to Congress to talk about Black studies and all of it, anti-Semitism and all of it. It's still a relevant thing. But I'm saying at that time, they called us into the office. They're like, we only have a position for one of you. Hood was like, he needs to have it. I'll never forget that. It's a very powerful moment. But when you talk about what it takes to hold up a Black teacher, yeah, man, it takes a lot. It takes a lot. It takes a lot, because there's a lot that if you're good, if you're effective, and especially if the Black students like you, then that's when the pressure comes. I guess it's an expectation that they shouldn't like you, or that what you're saying shouldn't be relevant to their lived experience. It should still be abstract, like most of the educational experience is in high school, kind of abstract. You're kind of learning, like what really is social studies, for example. What does that even mean? Do you really study social studies in social studies? You actually don't. You don't really do much social at all in social studies. And that's just an example of how it's abstract, right? You learn all this math, but it's not stuff that you can apply to your life, but you have to learn it to graduate. So you're in this class studying this stuff that you're never going to use in real life. So then when you get a teacher who's like giving you practical ways to deal with your emotion or to look at yourself in the mirror and love yourself, and then it's just a little different. Now it's like you're teaching people how to fish, you know, rather than just giving them fish.
Right. I mean, you said, you know, we're, you know, you're being armed, you're being, and I guess even in that, even as you say battle and arm or whatever, it's really just about, it's more than survival, but it is essentially survival. Like, well, that's the number one thing. We have to make sure that we survive.
Yeah.
But then it's also about, like you said, like, you're going to leave here with some questions, and these questions are going to be implements for you.
Yeah.
As they question you, you have questions.
That's right. And you have the right vocabulary to ask, and you have the right vocabulary to answer. And you can answer without even being mad, because you were mad in my class. We went through that already. You got through your anger and your emotion about it and your frustration, and now you're able to just talk about it like slavery happened, you know, as opposed to like slavery. You know, it's like, no, now we could talk about it. And then when the other teacher's teaching about it, I can, what about 1619? You know, what about, right? I can do, you forgot Denmark Vesey, or can we talk about the Haitian Revolution? Now you can actually ask questions in that class that is actually covering the material in a way that the teacher is not prepared to cover, because you're looking for yourself in the class. You're looking for yourself. Maybe that's another answer to that first question that you asked me. Like, what do I want students to do? And that might be it. Like, I want them to look for themselves in their education, in their educational experience. And if they don't find themselves, they should leave that and go somewhere where they find themselves. They should go find an experience that speaks to their reality, not one that's abstract.
And as of 1981, the median income of blacks was 56% of that of whites. Over 50% of all black children are growing up in poverty today, and according to the social scientists, they don't see any way out for our children in the future. If black men are being systematically pushed out, how can a black man command the respect of a black woman when he has nothing in himself to hold on to? Look at what we're saying, brother and sister. With all of this going on in your state, you should welcome me like the return of Jesus Christ to this state.
Why do you think Farrakhan's so controversial?
What he's saying, I see that every day, and I see more about what he's saying. Like, he gives you more and more information about it. That's what you see every day, and you peep it out more.
America is the type of place where everybody wants to do everything together. Let's buy our cars, let's do this together, let's support our country. And if there's one person going against that, they're the person that's going to stand out. And that's what Farrakhan did.
Just write a little something in your notebook about what you thought of Louis Farrakhan in the context of what the Muslims want, what their program is, what their whole flavor. Thank you, Yael. Y'all have a nice day. Continue to do your research. Research. Research.
When I became a teacher at Berkeley High, I had this conversation with Pedro Noguera because I didn't know what I was doing. I was freestyling. So I was like, what's the secret thing? Like, all teachers have a secret thing. What's the secret thing, bro? And he said, all you need to do is capture their imagination, Hodari. If you can capture their imagination, you could teach them anything. And I was like, yo, it's like a super gem. It was a super gem. So by the time I was teaching at the high, I was wearing like hip hop clothes. And so I would shop for a Pele Pele. It wasn't for me. I didn't really care about Pele Pele, but I knew the students loved that. I know the students would care about it. If I wore a FUBU, I know the students would be tripping off of it. I wasn't. I didn't really care. But I knew that I would capture their imagination. I totally understood that. If I did some hip hop shit, if KRS-One came to my class, I knew if I had KRS-One come to my class, I could ride that out for the whole year. And I did. And I did. Capture their imagination was like, it's like magic advice for me.
Wu-Tang?
All of it. Wu-Tang, I brought Wu-Tang to the school. We brought Outkast when they were just teenagers. Cube came to the school. Yeah, I mean, so many who at that time were emerging. Like now, they're all like old. They're all retired artists, you know what I mean? But at that time, I mean, Andre 3000 was in my class. He was only 19. And I only remember that because I was like, dude, aren't you supposed to be in school right now? You not much older than the kids in here.
Right.
It's like, yeah, I don't know. They had just made a Quimini maybe, or so they were just like doing their tour. They weren't even, you know what I mean? But I remember that moment of meeting Andre, and I remember Wu-Tang. That whole Wu-Tang thing was another crazy backstory to the Wu-Tang experience. But yeah, like, capture their imagination. If any teacher asked me what should I do to be successful, I would say capture their imagination.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't matter what level you were on, whether you were teaching kindergarten or whether you're teaching adults. I'll be like, capture their imagination. Figure out a way to capture their imagination, and you can teach them. You can be effective. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that makes me think too, you as a teacher, you have to be in touch with your own imagination.
Totally. You got to be, yeah, like I don't want to say you have to be. I want to say I had to be. Yeah, I don't want to say that that's a requirement for everybody, but that was a requirement for me.
Yeah. Well, I guess I would even say, like, well, let me see if you flow with this. You have to know what a cultivated imaginary an environment that cultivates imagination looks and feels like.
The way I thought about it was like your senses, your senses. And I thought I needed to provide you with something to see, hear, smell, and either taste or touch. Like I needed to get in your body. I needed to figure out how to get inside of there, not be outside, not be like existential and away from your body, but to be in your body. I remember this kid, I would ask this question in the Black Studies class. I would be like, so where y'all from? And they were like, oh, my family's from Louisiana. My family's from, and then I would just go in on some, really, your family's from Louisiana? That's where you think they're from? Where were they before that? Where were they before that? Where were they before that? Every time I'm grilling this one, everybody else is going back in their thing. And once most Black people get to a point where we stop, where we don't know. We get to a point that your imagination is on the other side of this hard wall of ignorance. You start to imagine what we were kings and queens. You're like, were you really? The imaginary starts on the other side of that wall, but there's actual truth on that other side if you can break through it. Otherwise, it's just imaginary, you know? And your self-construct almost demands that you imagine something. Like you start to tell the myths about yourself that are consistent with the myths you've been told your whole educational life about all these other people. And you say, oh yeah, I'm descendant from the king of whatever. You're like, okay, whatever keeps you standing up straight, you know. But capturing that imagination was important, and history is a great path to that imaginary. History is a awesome, I mean, you know, literature too. Literature does that too, right? Yeah, so you come in my class, you might smell incense, you might hear drums, or some hip hop is playing when you walk in. You know that you have your place to sit. Like I'm coming to you and greeting you. I might even touch your shoulder, just so you know we had a human connection. I have these words on the board, and I'm gonna be like, write those down. And I'm not even gonna ask you to do a whole lot. Write that down, put it in your book, so you have it. Do a little free write of what you think of it afterwards, and we're not even talking about that. But that's all just to break down those walls so you can get inside the body, and make it feel like a different experience from the last class I just left, which was trying to dismember my body and take me apart. But I'm coming in here and I feel like, man, it's kind of put me together. It's like, yeah, we trying to build you up. Do you remember Mr. Dickey?
I remember the name.
So Mr. Dickey was an OG retired teacher who used to come and sit in the back of my class. Old cat. He used to carry a bag full of newspapers. He was like in his 80s. And he would show up in my class and just sit. And then every now and then he would be like, da-da-da-da! But Mr. Dickey was the first Black teacher at Berkeley High. The first. He was like the guy, he was the pioneer Black teacher of Berkeley High. And he was there. So by the time he retired, he was still tight with Mr. McKnight. So he didn't have anything else to do. So he would just come to the high and sit in my class and listen and throw bars. He would throw bars whenever he could. But that was like an imaginary. He was living in an imaginary. He was still teaching. You know what I mean? He was retired. He was doing what his life's purpose. He was fulfilling his life. He was well beyond retirement. And it already pioneered, already broke through. He was why we were all there. I mean, you saw 10 Black teachers. This is the first one. It was like having Jackie Robinson sitting in the back of your class. You know what I mean? Sometimes he would smell a little funny. You know, sometimes it was clear that he didn't have family or children that were really taking care of him. You know what I mean? But that sanctuary was his sanctuary. You know, he didn't go through and make sure he got the guest pass and off principal's office and, you know, get walked up to the place. He just would show up, man, and walk straight to the class and sit down every day. It felt like he was there every day. And he would just whisper to me in between classes, like, you're doing a good job, man, you're doing a good job. And you got them. I saw this young person over there. They were just, you got them. And I'll be like, oh, okay, Mr. Dickey, thank you. Yeah, just try to show maximum respect for him, you know. Yeah, those little moments, it's just powerful. That's something that's also missing in the schools of today, man. There's not enough elders in the schools. You need more grandmothers and grandfathers in the schools. That's a big problem. People think that we need more AI people. We don't need as much artificial intelligence as we need ancestral intelligence. Like, I feel like we need ancestral intelligence more, especially us, because of everything that it took to get us in this position. And most of it we don't even know, so we can't even honor it, you know. And at least I had that moment where Mr. Dickey was there, and I could honor that path that got me to be standing in front of, at times, 40 students, you know. And like, he was the first person on that path. He actually carved the path. His footprints was what I was walking on. You know what I mean? And so everybody who came out of my class afterwards and became a teacher. Think about that. All the people who came out of my class afterwards and became educators and may not know Mr. Dickey, may not remember Mr. Dickey, but none of y'all will be walking that path without him. That's like life's purpose. You know what I mean? And that cat is gone. Like, this is an ancestor that I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, he was just an elder living out the last, you know, kind of chapter of his life. And just the little gems that he had in his moments of clarity were like life-changing for all of us. But we don't all know that our lives were changed by this dude. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know if that answered any question that you asked, but
No, that definitely did. Yeah.
Props to Mr. Davis for his time and wisdom. If you like part 1, get ready for part 2, where he's going to talk about his background, his family, dealing with grief in a public high school, doing a religious ceremony that was illegal, apparently. Anyways, you want to hear more about this. He's also got a project with this group called Edutainment for Equity, called Exhibit A Oakland, which is an interactive exhibition on anti-blackness. Sounds really interesting. You can catch more about him at Mr. Davis 510 on Instagram. Thanks to the Shakur kids for helping me break down my walls and just being scholars as usual. Thanks to my preeminent fount of knowledge, Candace Shakur, about everything that has to do with Girl Scouts history, theory, and praxis. And thanks to you, dear listener, for your curiosity, for your openness to hearing about what matters to black teachers. If you like what you hear, leave a comment. Do you have a Mr. Davis story? I want to hear it. We want to hear it. Share, like, subscribe, and tune in next time to hear everything that matters to black teachers. All right.